bring the praise, God will bring the victory. I'm going to show you that praise and worship is a weapon used in spiritual warfare. And I'm going to show you that using some scriptures from the Bible. Matter of fact, it's a very strong weapon. So first off, let's go to Psalm chapter 149, verses 4 through 6. But Adonai takes delight in his people. He crowns the humble with salvation. Let the faithful exalt gloriously. Let them sing for joy on their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their throats, but a two-edged sword in their hands. Now you're going out to battle, and God's telling you to take a two-edged sword, but he's also telling you to take your praise with you. That's on the battlefield. You're going out to battle, don't forget your praise. Now let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Verses 19 through 22. And the Levim from the descendants of Gadi and the descendants of Korti stood up and praised Adonai, the God of Israel, at the top of their voices. The next morning, they rose early and went out into the Tekoa desert, and they left Jehoshaphat stood and said, Listen to me, Yehuda, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Trust in Adonai, your God, and you will be safe. Trust in his prophets, and you will succeed. After consulting with the people, he appointed those who would sing to Adonai and praise the splendor of his holiness as they went out ahead of the army, saying, giving thanks to Adonai for his grace continues forever. Now get this. They went out ahead of the soldiers. Now, I don't know anything about battle or about military, but I'm pretty sure you don't send unarmed men out to the battle before the soldiers come out. So when they walked out, they were armed. They were armed with praise and worship. And when they did that, I don't think I read it. Let's see. Then during the time when they singing and praising, Adonai brought a surprise attack against the people of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, who had come to fight Yehuda, and they were defeated. That praise was a weapon. It was a weapon that brought God down to help them. It was a weapon that defeated the enemy because they were doing more than just fighting against those people. They were fighting against spirits, against the spirit, as well as the flesh. Now let's go to Acts chapter 16. Verses 22 to 31. Verses 23 through 31. After giving them a severe beating, they threw them in prison, charging the jailer to guard them securely. Upon receiving such an order, he threw them into the inner cell and clamped their feet securely between heavy blocks of wood. Around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, while the other prisoners listened attentively. Suddenly there was a violent earthquake which shook the prison to its foundations. All the doors flew open and everyone's chains came loose. The jailer awoke, and when he saw the doors open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself, for he assumed that the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself, we're all here." Calling for lights, the jailer ran in, began to tremble, and fell down in front of Paul and Silas. Then, leading them outside, he said, "Men, what must I do to be saved?" They said, "Trust in the Lord Yeshua, and you will be saved, you and your household." I've heard preached about the doors opening. I've heard preached about the chains coming loose. But you know what? I don't believe I've ever heard preached. And I'm not saying it's never been preached, but I have heard that praise, that worship that brought that jail down, that slammed those doors open, that took those chains off of their hands and their feet, also won a soul for them. See, that praise brought them into the enemy's camp to free somebody that was in bondage. Praise is your weapon. Now let's go to Joshua chapter 6, verses 10 through 16. Oh, here it is. Joshua gave the order to the people, "Don't shout, don't let your voice be heard. Don't let a single word out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout, then you will shout." So he had the ark of Adonai make a circle around the city, going around it once. Then they returned to camp and stayed in the camp. The next morning, Joshua got up early, and the priests took up the ark of Adonai. The 7 priests carrying the 7 shofars ahead of the ark of Adonai went on, continuously blowing on their shofars, with the fighting men marching ahead of them and the rear guard following after the ark of Adonai. All the while the blowing on the shofar was incessant. The second day they were around the city once and returned to camp. They did the same for 6 days. On the 7th day they got up early at sunrise and went around the city at the same way 7 times. That was the only day they encircled the city 7 times. The 7th time, when the priests blew on their shofar, Joshua said to the people, "Shout, because Adonai has given you the city." I want to point out something here. Before the 7th day, their praise was in their obedience, because for 6 days they walked around and did not say a word. So praise can be seen in your obedience. And when they shouted in obedience, and that was their praise. I want to say something else too. People can shout and not have faith in God. And I believe that any time that God sends people, that if he would have sent the army and Joshua out, and if they had shouted but had no faith that God was going to bring that wall down, that wall would not have came down. Because if they did not have enough faith in God to bring that wall down, there wouldn't have been enough faith in God to bring anything else down after that. So that wall coming down not only showed their obedience to what Joshua told them to do, it also showed their faith in the God that they were marching for. So there you go. This is what I'm saying right here. Praise and worship, it is a mighty strong weapon against the enemy. And part of that is shouting. Part of it is singing. Part of it is playing instruments. Part of it is dancing unto the Lord. But part of it is obedience. When you obey God, when you shut up when he says shut up, when you speak when he says speak, when you shout when he says shout, when you dance when he says dance, even when you want to cry, even when you want to weep, even when you want to give up, that's your weapon.